parental
actually,
advisory.
there is a slide, but
It's fine.
yeah,
It's fine. It's fine. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Happy Valentine's Day weekend. And my name is April Pollard, Women Influencers. We appreciate you who are tuning in online as well and watching this later. Today, our speaker is going to talk to us about hustle and burnout.
A little about my story, ADHD.
Yes. And the ADHD I'm really interested in. So I'm going to give it over to you. And at the end, if someone does have questions, we have a mic that we can use so you ladies online can hear it as well. Okay, bye.
Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Oh, it's all you. Yeah, you're right there.
first, I'm giving you a disclaimer. I'm not a therapist. I am a coach. We're different. Therapist helps you deal with trauma, past stuff, up until the present. Coaches work with you on strategy and how to move forward and live your best life. So, that's it. I have another disclaimer. You don't like curse words. I'm not going to curse, but there is one slide with a quote on it that helps me tell my story. And if that makes you uncomfortable, I can take it out real quick.
Nope.
No?
Go
Okay.
for it.
You do you.
Okay. So, with this, I don't know how many of you feel broken or undisciplined, but you're not. None of you are. That is where I started. It's not lost on me that we're about 3 days out from the day I blew my life up in 2023, February 16th. After crying my assessment for the third year in a row, my annual assessment. And this up here. Little did I know this came into play, so that's my why. But a little bit about blowing my life up. I was the breadwinner. The most prominent corporate position to this day that I had is the international distributor, communications manager at Snap-on Equipment. That's just a fancy way of saying I wore like 4 hats. In hindsight, before blowing up my life, there were a lot of red flags. I was feeling like my brain wouldn't work. I felt like no matter how much Adderall I took or coffee I drank, it just wasn't going to do it. I had devastating mood swings and crippling anxiety. I had chronic fatigue so pervasive, I would daydream about being hit by a semi or driving off the Arkansas River Bridge. That's unfortunately more normal than you think. I thought something was really wrong. Well, there was something really wrong. I was burnt out. And notably, when I'm looking back in hindsight, on January, and I did an audio journal, so I know this is word for word, and I almost wanted to play some for you, but it's a little much. But on January 20th, or January 5th, 2020, recognize that year, I had a rant, and I told my husband, I just need a break. You know how they, no offense to the guy in the back, but you know how they sit in the bathroom on their phones? And I was so tired. And I was like, I just need a break, and I don't get one. I have a 4-year-old, we have a 5-year-old, and if I do get a break, I have to leave, and if I leave, I have to plan childcare. I have to do everything. And we were yelling, and you don't know him, but he's like, walk quietly and carry a big stick kind of guy. He does not say curse words, he does not yell. He said, then just effing leave then. That's it. That was the start of me saying, okay, what am I doing? And it took me 3 years. I didn't even start Snap-on until February of that year. Right? That was January 5th. And that was 3 weeks before the pandemic left us down. My job completely changed because I was supposed to be traveling. So it's just this culmination of craziness. So I was already burned out. Entered a job where the burnout hit astronomical levels, and that's where I started trying to rethink what I'm going to do with my life, and I started self-coaching maybe a year after this blow up, where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, what am I doing? I started this new job, so I didn't have time to worry about my marriage at that point. But then once things kind of settled down and I got into a groove, so I thought, I did cry at every assessment that I ever had. I started working on myself. It's important to know that as far as ADHD goes, I was diagnosed young, so I knew that was a factor, but the time to keep drugs and insinuated away. So I didn't really know much about it. I just was like, I have these drugs. Well, the drugs weren't working, guys. So my brain was full-fledged ADHD and full-fledged burnout. Burnout affects 51% of U.S. workers said they've experienced burnout at their job in the past year, but in Gen Z, it's at 74%. So burnout is pervasive across all. It's not just ADHD, but moving on, slide 5. Burnout looks like this. It's a state of severe emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged, excessive stress, often resulting in feelings of. Some of these are also ADHD symptoms. Some of these are perimenopause symptoms. That's another permutation. But, so you just kind of...
Aerial?
No, he's fine. He's good. He's fine.
Are you fine?
He's okay.
Okay.
He wants to
He
hear
said he's okay.
I was making sure y'all, once y'all leave the room, can't nobody be in.
No, he knows.
He here every day anyway, so he okay. Yes. Do I have an area in here? Area?
No, we can't.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. I know you guys, I don't know how many of you have had all or some of these. Yeah? How many of you can empathize or have been in a situation where my husband just...
Was he talking about you leaving
Me?
the house? Or was he talking about you leaving your job?
All the things. Well, was he? That's the thing. Was he? Was he like just effing leave, like take a break?
Like,
or
give
just
you
effing
permission
leave?
to
Just
go and be like,
right.
my bag, okay.
So I did just effing leave, and I did a 20-minute audio journal rant. Maybe that'll come out in a book one day. Workplace burnout is higher in ADHD and autism or neurodiversity in general. So 50% of neurodiverse versus 38% of neurotypical employees reported feeling burned out, and that was in 2022 in the UK. You can imagine how bad it is here. Why are they higher? This is a very simplified reason why the rates are higher, but you've got executive load, which increases cognitive load and all kinds of things. If you've not heard the term masking, you've got masking compensating, and it's all the things, and then you have to shut off all the things, and then pretend like everything's fine. And then you've got your husband at home sitting on the toilet, ready to sound like a 5-year-old and screaming. You just need a break. Heredity loads the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. Have you ever heard that? Nobody thinks so. It does. That's my story. What slide are we on? Let's see. Slide 9. There is a significant emerging data showing that there's a complex web of association between ADHD, autism, stress, burnout, and autoimmune disease. Who has won that prize? Yay! That's why I'm here. If I had known some of these things, maybe I wouldn't have Graves' autoimmune disease. And so I was diagnosed with Graves in nearly a year after the signs arose in my blood work. I was diagnosed in October of 2023, so I left my job in March of 2023. I blew up my life as a breadwinner. I left my job. Finally went and got diagnosed. I thought I was going to fix it myself. You cannot fix it yourself. My thyroid levels were 3 times higher than the normal level. My endocrinologist called me herself in the meeting. She said, I need you to go first. I need you to get these drugs. And I was like, you're the doctor calling me. And they're busy, y'all. Endocrinologists are busy. She called me herself. So I was like, oh, that's scary.
Right.
So I quickly got better because I went off gluten. I'm not going to get into that here, but if you're ever wondering if that's causing problems, it is. And I'm eating my words because I used to be one of those people that was like, oh, you're just being a hipster and you don't want to eat gluten. And then God was like, now you get it, not only you. My nurse friend who convinced me to go in and get diagnosed, she saw me about a little under a year later, and she told me that she thought I was dying. Well, I was. Like, it felt like every cell in my body was trudging through mud. That's how it felt to have Graves' disease and your thyroid at 3 levels higher. Besides the fact that my brain wouldn't work because it had ruined it sent me into early menopause. I'm not in it, but I was almost in it. So like all my hormones were acting that way. My brain didn't work because there was no estrogen. My muscles were deteriorating. My bones were deteriorating. Grace was a silent killer. What she told me was, what we learn in nursing school is that you go, and then you die. That's what you do. And she was really scared for me. And I was like, well, thanks for getting me to go without telling me that. Because it was really hard. I was like, I love you so much. Because can you imagine the panic? But I couldn't get into an endocrinologist and I would be like, I'm dying. So, I'm going to the next slide. This isn't just a productivity problem. It's a problem for caregivers and partners. It's a problem for your health and society. This is a rally. This is what I want this to be, you guys. And pardon me for not talking a lot about ADHD. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me. I have personal assessments with me that you can take if you're interested. Knowing its power, you may not want drugs, right? But getting to the bottom of some of the causes of this, and just knowing takes the cognitive weight off. So, how do we navigate big change? We're under some of the most uncertain times, if not the most uncertain times, that humans have faced at all. We're calling this Generation T as a collective. It's not Gen Z, millennials, and it's all of us. We're Gen T, we're Gen Transition. We're transitioning into a new future as humans. And it's uncertain. And it's not going away. And so that adds back cognitive load, right? That's really scary for our brains when we don't know what's happening. In general, if you don't have ADHD, but if you do, you've got some overactive parts of your brain that love to worry. And they cut off the part of your brain that works really well. So how do we deal? My coaching program is the Calm Burnout. What is that? It's neuro-inclusive coaching, which means it's not you come in and I give you orders and you do it or you're in trouble. It's very much, if you've ever been to yoga, this is how we treat it. You're not going to get in trouble for being late. You're not going to get in trouble for like missing an appointment. A lot of people are like, oh, you don't charge? Well, no, because I know an ADHDer is already mad enough at themselves for missing or being late. That doesn't help our goals. So that's just an example of what neuro-inclusive means. Like we're accepting, we're going to modify the coaching based on where you are. We build capacity to face uncertainty and do hard things. We build the parts of your brain that help you do that. We build awareness to gain self-trust and confidence, literacy to know your brain and know how to feel. This is one major problem. Most people don't even know what feelings are, let alone how to describe them. And if you can't describe them, you can't process them. I'm not a therapist again, but we do some of that work, right? We learn the literacy of it. We learn ADHD literacy. What does ADHD look like for me? Because if you can know one person with ADHD and you know one person with ADHD, it's very different the way The symptoms might be the same, but what they do to your brain can be different. And then we work on metacognition, which is a fancy way of saying thinking about your thoughts. You know what you're thinking, you can understand yourself a lot more, and you can pull in some of the tools that we're working on to be like, well, if I'm thinking this, what do I need to do with those thoughts to make the outcome better? And it makes it all stick. Take-home tips. Let me give you some tips for productivity and just general, like making your brain work better. Baseline resourcing. Does anyone know what baseline resourcing would be? Like for your brain. What is the basic necessity your brain needs to function as optimally as it can?
Sleep.
You get a ball. What color do you want? Do you want a ball?
Sure.
Sure. They're really fun. What else?
Water.
Yes! Have you attended
I thought
my
maybe it was a hint,
presentation
too.
before?
Right.
Oh, I just know what I'm like when I don't have water.
You become a monster?
Yes.
What else?
Sleepy.
What else? There's one more. Well, there's two, but I only talk about
Salt, nutrition, and
this is one people hate. Exercise. Nutrition, exercise. We're not talking about exercise. Actually, this is so important that they're learning now that Alzheimer's is avoidable. And you know how you do it?
Exercise.
And that helps the AMCC. So, the AMCC is part of your brain that helps you grow and do the right things. When you exercise, it helps grow that part of your brain. When you challenge yourself mentally, it helps grow that part of your brain. And that helps. I'm not going to get into specifics because I actually don't know, but I do know that the research is showing that helps you avoid Alzheimer's. So the work I do not only helps you now, it helps you in the future. To sleep well, find a consistent bedtime, y'all. This is hard. The reason for this is because that deep sleep, that street sweeper part of your sleep, happens in the first part of the night. And if you skip that, if your brain used to getting that at the same time and you skip it, you're just not getting that deep sleep. You're going to feel like crap. Wake time is important because it sets your clock. So also getting a little sun in your eyes, like real sun in your eyes first thing in the morning, if you can, helps set that clock so your body knows what to expect. Sleep in a cool, dark room. I didn't know that people didn't know that to do that, but my husband would prefer the movie. And he has no food or alcohol 2 to 3 hours before bed. I'm currently doing a course right now on a lot of the things that I've given in my workshop because Miss Karen was like, you got to do a course because this is a lot of stuff. You can't take it all. One of the girls in there, simply by stopping or munching right before bed, her sleep level just went through the roof. Exercise. It modulates neurotransmitters, all of these, and it helps grow the AMCC, the part of the brain that helps you do hard things. So these are really important. This is like nature's anti-anxiety medication cocktail right here. And it gives you the right amount at the right time if you've exercised. The great thing is, it doesn't have to be consecutive. It can be non-consecutive. I used to run stairs when I learned all this, when I was still working at Snap-on. I wanted to focus for in-house focus. So it's a win-win. If you can just get out, you can do like 10 squats or something in the bathroom if you remember. I've never been able to remember that, but maybe someday. But I said that if you do like 10 squats every hour, that actually helps with Alzheimer's. It helps with all of that. Get your heart rate up a little. You're running errands at lunch. Park in the back for you, walk in.
and have your logo on the top. I'm assuming that's your logo.
Yep. It's
No, I can see it now.
cognitive overload and procrastination. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but I have a study that I talk about in my workshops. I'm not going to bring all that out because we're at 9:30. But if you think about it as RAM on your computer, do you know what RAM is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens when you got a bunch of crap open?
Slows down.
Shuts down. Our brains are the same way. So when you have a to-do list and you're looking at this long to-do list, that's like having all those apps open. You can have the long to-do list, just dump it somewhere. Only keep 3 objectives a day. The chances of you getting through 3+ are going to be higher than if you had all of them sitting there staring at you. And if you're like me and you don't like being told what you're doing today, if there's nothing that's a priority, give yourself 5, and then you can say, Brain, you get to choose 3. Right? Now we can go over 5. When you do your brain down, this is called the 6 Ds. You can do it, you can look at it, you do it, delegate it, delete it, divide it, due date it, deal with it, or accept it. Some of these things we don't need to do. We don't have to do. They're just like, oh, that would be cool. You're like, yes, all of those. I have so many of that would be cool things on my list.
Yeah.
And then I get mad that I didn't do the that would be cool things, but they weren't priorities to begin with. Make a new list for those. These are
You have to coach me to say no,
things
sorry.
I might do some. What'd you say?
You'll have to coach me to say no.
Yeah, in Resilient Rebels, the course I'm doing right now, actually procrastination is the next thing up, but no, it's energy and time. It's capacity. We're gonna work on capacity, but we just did people pleasing. This Tuesday is the last session of that. If you wanted to have a that's it. That's all I got.
It was good.
I'm gonna be doing free lunch. Thank you. Free lunch and learns every first and second Friday starting in March. So if your company wants to get in on that, scan that. We can have a chat about it. If you want to join Resilient Rebels, it's still going. We have 3 modules left this week. So we're talking about energy and time management, which is capacity, and then we will go into procrastination pretty deeply, and then we'll talk about metacognition.
Are the lunch and learns available on Zoom as well, or is it in person?
Huh?
The lunch and learn.
In person, as long as it's common or literal.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
Or like, we'll try and
Any questions? Nope. So they can hear you on it.
Is the mic on?
you want to ball?
I did have a question.
You don't like them?
I do.
Some people don't like them.
She has a question.
I just have a quick question. I know earlier you mentioned that you had ADHD and you suffered for it, and you was haven't taken medication since a young child, and you like you got to a point to where you felt like it wasn't working anymore. What made you feel that way? Do you feel like children should still take it? Did you feel like children maybe should learn to cope with their emotions without the medication? What made you make this statement to feel like the medication?
Oh,
was
it
no
wasn't.
longer working?
It's straight up wasn't working because my estrogen had dropped so much, and I was burned out, and I didn't have the capacity, the chemicals even to make it work. So, I think medicine can be a great option. Is it the only thing you need? Absolutely not. Would I have burned out had I had the thinking tools that I have now? No. I without a doubt, believe that if I had the thinking tools, I would have been much more prepared to manage all my emotions and all the data that came out. But they didn't have that back when I got diagnosed. Some of the stuff hasn't. It's only come out in the last 7 years. Some of the tools that I use with my clients, but for children. I'll tell you this, I got my daughter diagnosed at 7. She didn't want to be on medication. That's fine, that's her choice. She's in private school and didn't necessarily need it, so it depends on where you're at. If you're in a place where you're going to be sitting and looking at boring worksheets all day and your brain doesn't work that way, you might need medicine. It's a society problem. It's not us problem. But in order to live in the society, sometimes it does take medication. And the thing about that they're finding out now, Dr. Daniel Amen said they've done research because people are worried about this medication, what it's doing to your brain. It actually helps your executive function develop better. And I can attest to that. I think that I have a lot more coping strategies that are healthy even before I got all this information. It just some of this emotional regulation stuff was not tied to ADHD, and that's kind of where we get into the overwhelm and the cognitive overload and all these thoughts are more emotional. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious because I did have a friend and her son. It was ironic that you talked about that because her son is about the same age as your daughter, and she decided to take him off medication, not in her own will, but because they didn't have the insurance to cover it. And so she was like, she just been recognizing his behavior after he got off the medication. When he was on the medication, he didn't have a big appetite. He was really frail. He wasn't eating as much, and she was really concerned. And then once she got back, now that he's no longer on the medication, it's like he's eating now. He's not picky eating. And, some of his behavior, she said, is kind of changing a little bit, but of course you can understand it because he's no longer have the medicine in his system. And so she, was kind of asking me about how I feel. I said, well, I can't make that decision, but if he's been on the medication for a while, see how he reacts to it without it and help him with the emotions that he's going through. Because he's been so dependent on that medication, he no longer has the capacity to deal with what's going on with him. And if he keeps becoming dependent on that medication to help him cope with everyday life, then he has to be an adult at one time, at some point in time. And you don't want him to just continue to self-medicate because he's not dealing with certain emotions.
Yeah, in my experience, most people with ADHD who were on meds as a child try to take themselves off of it. That will happen a lot. I wanna. My daughter's 10 now. She is on medicine now, and I'll tell you why. You'd like to hear. So first, I want to preface this with to say, children with ADHD have 20,000 more negative moments of feedback than in their neurotypical counterparts by the time they are 10 to 12 years old. That sets them behind as far as they're massive. All of this overwhelm that they experience, these emotions, the regulation, because they're constantly told you're not like other people. Essentially, you can't behave, you can't do this right. The other part that a lot of people don't know, and I don't know how many comments I leave in ADHD parenting support groups, the frontal lobe of a child or anyone with ADHD is at a 30 to 40% delay in development. What that means is my 10-year-old has the executive function of a 7-year-old, maybe 6 sometimes, depending on her emotional overload. It's hard because she's twice exceptional. She's extremely intelligent. She could be in 5th grade. She is in 4th. It's really hard to be like, my 5th grader is operating at 7 years old. But that's the truth. The reason she went on medicine is because of that delay. She was having a lot of anxiety about what she was saying because she would say something stupid to her friends, and she wasn't hearing it until the moment they heard it, because there's a delay in a part of your brain that will catch those words. And if you take medicine, it syncs up that part of your brain, the rest of it. So she decided to go on medicine so she would stop saying stupid things, because there's literally nothing you can do but wait for that to develop. So that's a lot, but I'm happy to talk with her if she's worried. I'm working on setting up ADHD literacy with the library, classes for parents, because I don't coach kids, but there's just so much parents could do if they knew. Just reminding yourself that, I'm dealing with a 7-year-old, not a 10-year-old. It's huge. It really changes the way that you move forward with any conversation or yelling, or if you can pull in your own regulation. Any other questions? Questions about adulting with ADHD? I heard someone say the other day that it may not be ADHD, it may just be perimenopause. that could be true for some people. We've got social media, which is spiking our dopamine constantly, which puts us at a deficit. But if you remember having trouble in the past, if you remember being emotionally overwhelmed and having rejection sensitivity dysphoria, if you've ever heard of that, likely you probably already have ADHD. And you just didn't know it. Because they can study